Did you ever notice that the biggest heartbreaks are always the ones that shouldn't even have made sense? And I'm talking about the person that you didn't even like half the time. You didn't agree with their values. They weren't really your type. And if you'd written out a list of what you'd wanted, their name wouldn't have even crawled onto the page. And yet somehow your heart stitched itself to theirs like it was life or death. And it's funny but tragic how the people who actually show up for you, the decent humans who want to love you properly, they never got this version of your devotion. But the one who stayed half in, half out, the one who wasted your time and messed you around, that's the one who colonized your mind. That's the one who you lose sleep over. And I need you to know, you're not crazy. There's a reason for it. And it's not because they were your soulmate. It's because your nervous system was tricked. It was fooled into believing all that intensity meant more. And once that jolted, damaged wiring gets its hooks into you, it feels like everything. There's a part of you, old, ancient actually, primal, that learned that love isn't something to be given, but earned, hunted, chased, worked for. So when someone comes into your life who is warm one minute, cold the next, you don't leave like you should. You try harder. And you make yourself smaller, you dissolve. You make your edges smoother. You make yourself easier. You start to interview for affection that you should never have had to interview for. And the more uncertain they are, the more certain you become. We talk about chemistry like it's magic, but half the time, chemistry is such a dangerous thing. It's two people activating their wounds in perfect sync. You think you're in love, but what you're actually in is this high-stakes casino. You slam your heart on the table and you pray that the dealer doesn't swallow it whole. And listen, I know that you think you miss them, but if you had to be completely honest, you'd realize that you miss the version of you that you would get to be if they'd finally chose you. That imagined version of you, worthy, wanted, enough. And that's what you're grieving, not the relationship, because you know, deep down, there was barely a relationship there. There were crumbs, a few electric moments, a handful of promises that they never had the emotional ability to keep. You are grieving the imagined future that you'd built around someone who didn't have the tools to hold it with you. That's the grief. And that's why it hurts so much. Because your brain doesn't like unfinished stories. It doesn't like loose threads. It would rather torture itself chasing meaning than accept that some people leave because they were never capable of staying. So here you are, mourning someone who you never actually got, someone that you never actually fully agreed with, and someone who didn't even know how to meet you where you were, someone who made you feel unsafe and somehow essential. The mind is messy like that. It's not logic, it's memory, it's nervous system, it's hope. When someone loves you steadily and properly, your heart kind of stays quiet, your mind stays quiet. But when someone loves you in stutters and pauses, the noise is deafening. And you start to think that the noise is proof that it matters, but it's not. It's just proof that your body's still trying to finish a story that started long before this relationship, before any relationships actually. You thought it was about them, all of this, but it never was. They were just a match thrown onto a pile of old tinder. The blaze didn't start because they were remarkable. It started because your heart has been waiting for a very long time to be witnessed. They never chose you, and that emptiness echoes. It echoes down into places you haven't had to look for years. Places that are whispering to you in your mind, if they don't want me, maybe I'm not enough. And that's the lie that's keeping you stuck. Let me tell you a hard truth gently. If they'd seen you, like really properly seen you, they would have picked you with both hands. They would have stayed. But not everyone has the emotional strength to hold on to love that's that real. Some people run from warmth because they don't know how to stand in it without burning. They didn't reject you. They rejected responsibility. They rejected truth. They rejected growth. And then your brain turned it inward and wrote this weird story about you being lacking. I promise you, that's nonsense. And one day, I promise you something else, one day you'll look back and you'll realize that you're not devastated about losing them, and you never were. You were devastated because of that version of you that was begging for proof that you belonged somewhere. And that's what you're healing now. It's not about letting go of them. It's about letting go of the idea that your worth depends on someone else's capacity to love you. And you'll stop craving people who don't choose you the minute that you decide that they're not good enough for you to choose either. I know this sounds simple, and I know that it isn't. It's like this slow uncoiling, a quiet unstitching. But I'll tell you something that will sting and then might soften a little bit. If they had stayed, if they had given you the future that you were psychologically begging them for, it would have broken you far more than their absence ever will. Because being chosen by someone who can't hold you isn't a blessing. It's this slow dissolution, this slow erasure. You continue in that relationship and you lose yourself, one compromise at a time, till there's nothing left but a miserable shell. So instead of mourning what you've lost, maybe you should consider mourning what you would have lost if they had stayed. You dodged a slow death, but you just didn't recognize the bullet because it looked like love. And when you're ready, when your nervous system has had time to settle and calm and exhale, you might meet someone who stays and you won't have to perform or convince or chase, and it'll feel uncomfortable at first. Too quiet, too steady, too safe. Because chaos was your language, but give it time. Your body will learn this new dialect and you'll finally understand what I'm telling you now. You never lost your mind because they were special. You lost your mind because there was a big part of you that was screaming at you to be healed. And instead of facing that and healing it, you gave it to the wrong person. And now you've got it back. So now you get to do that healing. Big hug.